asking questions and introducing you. So, hi, I'm Diane Hall from AARP Missouri, and thank you for joining us today and participating in our live online event featuring Brett Johnson, a man the Secret Service has called the original Internet Godfather. The FBI credited Brett with building and organizing the first cybercrime community called Shadow Crew, which was the start of today's dark net. Brett has turned his back on criminal enterprise and now works to protect people against cybercrime and is considered one of the leading cybersecurity experts in the nation. Tonight, we'll hear more of Brett's stories, and he will share tips and tools we need to protect ourselves from today's most current and widespread online threats. Now, this is a live event, so I want you to get involved. We really want to hear from you. Please put your remarks and questions in the comments box. I know some of you emailed us some questions ahead of time, and I've got them right here, so thank you for that. And we will try to answer as many questions from email and comments as we can. And before I forget, we have a sweepstakes going on, especially for our fraud prevention listeners. We're giving away a micro shredder, which can help you shred some of those important papers that might give away your identity. Make sure and enter at bit.ly/shred instead. Don't listen to me, read it on the screen, bit.ly/shred instead. And you can also find more information at aarp.org/mo. Now, you probably know that millions of Americans fall victim to internet frauds and scams every year. It results in tens of billions of dollars landing in the pockets of cyber criminals. And we're here today to talk about what we can do to help protect ourselves and our families, including signing up for AARP's Fraud Watch Network. The Fraud Watch Network is designed to give access to information and help protect us from frauds and scams. It's free and open to anybody, any age, AARP member or not, everybody can join. You'll find out about active scams to watch out for, get resources to help you spot and avoid con artists' latest tricks, and you'll hear about events like this one that are in your community or near you, and you can help protect yourself and your family. You can also tell us your stories and experiences with fraud. To sign up, please visit the website aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. Now, internet scams, as well as other types of fraud, pose a serious threat here in Missouri and beyond. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest to today's live event, cybersecurity expert, author, and educator, Brett Johnson. Welcome, Brett.
Diane, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, Brett, we're delighted to have you here. And I know a lot of people wonder why someone moves from minor crimes to more sophisticated frauds and scams. Yeah, and maybe your backstory could give us a little information on that. You've had kind of an amazing journey. And you've gone from cybercrime to cybersecurity consultant and now working with AARP. Could you kind of share a little of your history and background with our viewers?
Oh, sure. Where to begin? That's the question, right? I guess I could begin with my first crime. My first crime was age 10. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is one of these areas like the Panhandle of Florida, parts of Louisiana that if you don't have a job, you may be involved in scam, hustles, fraud, what have you. My mom was basically the captain of the entire fraud industry in that area. No crime too big or too small. From this woman stole a 108,000-pound Caterpillar D9 bulldozer. Another point, she takes a slip and fall in the store, tries to sue the owner. That was my mom. My first crime, she used to leave me and my sister. I was 10, my sister Denise, 9. She used to leave us at home for days at a time. This one time she had left us at home for a while. We didn't have any food in the house. Been gone for a few days, Mom had. Denise walks in. She's got this pack of pork chops in her hand. And I'm like, where'd you get that? Now, Denise is 9 years old, pack of pork chops. I'm like, where'd you get that? She's like, I stole them. I was like, show me how you did that. So she takes me over, shows me how she's stealing food. And I'm like, hey, that's the best idea ever. So we start stealing food. Look across the way, there's Kmart. Kmart's got clothes. So we start stealing clothes. And it becomes like this almost perverted form of Maslow's hierarchy of needs: books, games, jewelry, music, toys. Mom comes home, sees all the stolen loot, asks where it came from. I'm the kid that always lied. So I stood up and I was like, hey, we found it. She's like, no, you didn't find that. Denise stands up. She's half proud, I guess half pissed off. We stole it. My mom looks at my sister. Show me how you did that. And she joins us. She doesn't only join us, but she goes and gets her mother to join us as well. We become this intergenerational shoplifting ring in Eastern Kentucky. And that's the first crime I committed right there. And as I got older, I got more involved in the types of scams and hustles and fraud that my mother and that side of the family committed until I finally branched off on my own into internet crime. And before we go any further, I want to say, because some people may think that I'm saying my childhood resulted in my choices as an adult. That's not true. My sister had the exact same upbringing that I had. Other than that one shoplifting experience, she goes off to be a great parent, great teacher, a great citizen. I'm just the guy that kept on going. My choices as an adult are mine, and I chose to break the law. And it's a decision, it's a choice to do that, and I chose to do that, and I was wrong to do it, and I paid the price for it.
Well, now you went from that kind of thing to cybercrime, but you went from cybercrime and now suddenly you are fighting cybercrime. How did that come about?
Well, it turns out that while crime does pay, there's also a price to be paid for committing crime. That's the truth of the matter. What happened was I was kind of raised as a child to be that criminal if I chose to do that. I start in on internet crime. The first internet crime that I committed, I was at the University of Kentucky. Go Wildcats. I was there taking classes. Quit my job. Needed to still feed me and my wife, so I figured, I'll commit crime. Didn't know how to do it until I found eBay. Figured I could make some money on eBay. Then one night, Bill O'Reilly's on Inside Edition. He's talking about Beanie Babies. I'm sitting there going, they're profiling this one Beanie Baby called Peanut the Royal Blue Elephant, this little small blue elephant that was selling for $1,500 on eBay. So I go around to all the Hallmark stores the next day looking for the little guy. Can't find him because he's on eBay. Figure out pretty quick, okay, what am I going to do? Well, they had these little gray Beanie Baby elephants for $8. Bought one of those, stopped by Kroger on the way home, picked up a pack of blue Rit dye, tried to dye the little guy. Figured out pretty quickly he's made out of polyester. He's not going to hold the dye. You get him out of the bath, look like he's got the mange. But what happened was I ripped a lady off. I stole $1,500 from the lady. She thought I had the real thing. I posted a picture of a real one. She thought I had the real thing, and I scammed her out of $1,500. And that was the first crime I committed online. And it was very unsophisticated. I did it under my name, but she never complained to law enforcement. That's one of the things you see, that a lot of victims, they never report the crime to law enforcement. And you should always report. You should always prosecute to the fullest extent of the law as well. And a lot of victims don't do that. But as I kept going, I got better and better until finally the United States Secret Service called me the original internet godfather. The reason they called me that, I was convicted of 39 felonies. I was placed on the United States Most Wanted list. I escaped from prison, and I built the first organized cybercrime community. It was called Shadow Crew. It was a precursor to today's darknet and darknet markets. It laid the foundation for the way modern cybercrime channels operate today. Those 39 felonies had to do with refining modern financial cybercrime as we now know it. Account takeovers, credit card fraud, phishing, social engineering attacks, tax return identity theft, all that crap. I'm that guy. Nothing to be proud of. I went to prison, rightfully so. The good thing is I had enough people who cared about me, who gave me a chance to turn my life around, to use the knowledge I've got as a criminal to now help protect people. And I don't know if I deserve the life I've got, but I'm really grateful to have it.
Oh, yeah, I think most of us feel like we're not sure we deserve the life that we've got, but it's such a positive story to hear you talk about where you started, where you've been, and where you are now, because I think that's just an amazing story, and thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Now, as I said in the beginning, yeah, go right ahead, have a little sip there. As I said in the beginning, we got some questions ahead of time, but before we go to those questions that people sent in, I want to ask something that maybe quite a few folks might have on their mind.
Okay.
Fraud is kind of a widespread concern, and everyone says, oh, I want to know how to protect myself. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's probably fair to say that you have some insight into the con artist tactics. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the tactics and how they work, and if anything is different now that we're in this pandemic.
Okay, so sure, the pandemic, 2020, let's be honest. 2020 is the year to beat all years. It's like we wake up every single day thinking that the day before is as bad as it can get, but there's always a new surprise. We've got 28 days till the election, and it's really untelling what will happen in that 28-day span. We've got a couple of months till the end of the year. We've had murder hornets. We've had asteroids. We've had these hurricanes coming together. I mean, New Orleans is about to get hit again. It's the craziest year on the planet. For fraud, there has never been a better time in the history of the United States to be a fraudster than the year 2020. That is a fact. That is a fact. Right now, it used to be that fraudsters, see, when you look at cybercrime, at scams, there are basically three necessities to scams. Three things have to work in conjunction for a scam to be successful. The criminal has to gather data, meaning he has to steal your PII or credit card information or bank logins or something like that. Okay, so gathering data, then committing the crime. Once he steals your credit card data, he has to go over to Amazon or Apple or Microsoft and use that data to try to get products. Okay, and then finally, once he gets the product, the third necessity of crime, of scams, is cashing it out. All that's useless to him unless he can put cash in pocket at the end of the day. The big secret to all that is every single one of those three necessities has a degree of desperation to it. There's always a rush to use the PII or the stolen information before the victim finds out about it. Committing the crime, there's always a possibility the company knows that the fraud's happening, or they'll call the product back or something like that. So you're desperate to get the product, and then you're desperate to make sure that whatever money's coming, that you actually convert it into cash and put it in your pocket. That's not the way things are this year. This year, instead of criminals being desperate, the good guys are desperate. The government is desperate to get money out to those 40 million Americans that are out of work, to those businesses that are hard hit by the pandemic. The people that are out there, I mean, they're desperate to find work, to protect themselves against the pandemic, to try to just put food on the table. Because of that, what you see time and time again with scams is scams are successful because the scammer is able to put the victim, the potential victim, in some sort of state of desperation, the need to act. Well, now, because scammers are no longer desperate to cash things out or commit crime or to get data, because it's all there now. Now the thing is that a scammer can sit back, he's calm, cool, collected, calculating, and he can pick and choose what type of crime he wants to commit. Meanwhile, the good guys, they're hard hit with everything, and they're just desperate to try to make ends meet or try to get money out to the people that need it. So it's the pandemic has really changed things 180 degrees from the typical way cybercrime operates.
Well, are there any new trending online frauds because of the pandemic? Is there anything special and new?
Well, it's interesting. So I would not say there's anything new, all right? Because innovation, one of the things that we used to teach on Shadow Crew, the criminal site, was also a teaching platform. We taught that innovation breeds cybercrime. There's not really anything new. There's new takes on existing types of crimes. So people who are looking for work, criminals know that people are looking for work, so they post fake employment ads on Indeed and Monster and Craigslist and all these other sites. People know that we're going into the Christmas season pretty soon. So criminals know that people are looking for bargains on gifts. So they'll post non-existent cameras or Xboxes or PlayStations or what have you on all these websites as well, trying to scam people into sending money. You've got the COVID scams that are out there, fake tests that are being sent, PPE, protective equipment that's being sent out. That's just scams. You'll see a call coming in on your caller ID that says it's from the CDC, and they're talking about contact tracing. Oh yes, this is James Lasky over at the CDC. We saw that you're on a camera going into Walmart. Looks like there was a COVID-19 positive there. We're contacting everyone that comes by. We need you to take a test. No, don't come in. We're going to send you the test. We need you to prepay for the test, but you'll be reimbursed. I need your credit card number. Yeah, thank you. Bye. So you see that kind of stuff there. All right. It's takes on existing types of crimes or social engineering techniques. The way you combat that, typically when you're looking at a scam, the scammer tries to get the victim to not think in an objective way. All right. So what I like people to do, and we'll talk about several pointers throughout this hour, but what I like people to do is just anytime you see a call that's coming through the IRS or anything, anytime you've got somebody that's demanding something of you, that's go and get this, do this, do this. I need you to just step back, take a breath, and try to think rationally, try to think objective. All right. And typically what will happen is if you're able to have that objective point of view, you'll realize that things do not sound right on this. Okay. Or if you've got a buddy that you can talk to, I don't care if it's an enemy, a friend, family, associate member, whatever that is, find somebody that you can talk to that has that objective point of view that can tell you, hey, Patricia, this does not sound right. And there you go from there. Okay.
I think that's a really, really good advice. I think just stopping and pausing and thinking can save us a lot of grief, not just from frauds and scams, but in life in general.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that I saw something maybe in a broadcast that you had done before, that you were maybe switching from doing industry stuff to more consumer protection stuff. Did I get that right?
You did get that right. So, I started my career talking about cybersecurity, cybercrime, and merchant fraud because I was the guy, I did a lot of credit card theft, and I knew the nuances, and I still know the nuances of the way merchants are defrauded. But at the end of the day, we are all consumers. We are all consumers. And as such, I try to talk to people in general because these things that I'm talking about, we're going to talk about freezing credit and monitoring accounts and passwords and things like that. This applies to everyone. And if you teach everyone how to be safe online or live online lives safely, that translates to work as well. I still do the merchant and the business consulting and speaking and everything. But to me, those people, a company has security companies, security services that help protect them. Consumers don't have that. So somebody needs to be out there speaking to them and saying, hey, this is what you need to do to protect yourselves against somebody like I used to be. And that's what I'd like to do these days. I don't know if I can ever make amends for what I did, but I'm trying to kind of balance the scale. I'm hoping that at some point I'm able to look back at my life and say, okay, Brett, okay, so it's no longer weighted where you were just that horrible bad guy. You've maybe done enough now where it's somewhat even. And I think that's the important thing for me is to try to get to that point. That's what I try to do all the time.
Well, we certainly appreciate that you helping us share that information and knowledge with the people that are out there listening to us today. And you're moved kind of to the consumer end. It really fits in with some of the stuff that we're going to be asking you today, because we got some questions in advance from some of our volunteers and members. We put it out. Please send in your questions by email, and we got quite a few actually. And there were some duplications, and some of these may overlap a little bit, but I think restating and saying in a different way some of the important strategies and cautions, that's probably a good thing. So let's dig into some of the questions we received. Why don't we just take the one that's on the screen just for fun? Had a strange interaction with a website yesterday, so I immediately canceled that credit card. Not sure if it was a fraud or not, but wanted to be safe. What's the trigger that you should pull? When should you do something like that?
I think that the trigger is sometimes sites are iffy, all right? And I'm a big guy on doing what's called a chargeback. So I'll go to a website and I'll order an item, and even I used to be a career criminal, and I still get scammed today. Okay, it's normal. People get scammed. Some of these scams, some of these sites, you cannot tell the difference between the real ones. What I would say is if you're feeling uncomfortable, there is a reason that you're feeling uncomfortable. Okay, so follow what Ronald Reagan said: trust but verify. So you go to a website, it looks good, so okay, I'm going to trust it. It looks like it's the right one and everything. Did you type it in? Did you link to it by Google or email? That will determine a lot of the times what's going on. If you've typed in the URL, if you're going to Microsoft.com or eBay.com, you know that typically that site is that site. There's a few ways that a scammer could get you on that, but very rarely that they're going to divert you to a different site. So how did you visit the site is the question. Once you visit the site, does it look normal and everything? If it doesn't, don't place an order, but try to verify whether that's the site. Is the security certificate there? Well, that can be faked as well, but did you type in the actual URL in the site? Did you run the site name through Google to see if there's any mentions of scams being associated with that site? These are the things. At the end of the day, if you're still feeling uncomfortable, if you're paying with a credit card, that's good because you have the credit card protections. Okay, so if you do get scammed on your credit card, this is this thing called a chargeback that I was talking about. I actually, my English teacher back in high school, she contacts me the other day. She says, I got ripped off. I paid with a credit card for a couple of reads. I've not got them. What can I do? And I was like, Carol, call the bank, whoever issued the credit card, tell them you didn't receive the item, that you want to do a chargeback. Promise you, you'll get your money back. She does that. She sent me a message last night saying, hey, got my money back. That's exactly what I want everybody to do. If you do get ripped off, do not hesitate to call your bank and say, hey, I didn't receive this item. There are protections in place where you will be reimbursed for that loss. Okay.
Yeah, the protections on credit cards are awesome for the consumer, I think. Well, now we just had a question that popped up just a second ago. It was asking if you are still in touch with some of the cyber criminal element, and do they talk about how easy it is to scam people?
I am in touch. I scan the dark web most every day because I still work with Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies. There are networks online where they do nothing but talk about how easy some of these crimes are to perpetrate, how easy some of these stores are to victimize. All right. So if you think of the dark web, those communication channels there, the forums that are there, the forums exist to exchange information. It's kind of like an open source bazaar where everyone exchanges information. What you see is that typically a criminal, those three necessities of cybercrime that I spoke about, gathering data, committing crime, cashing out, one single guy can't do all three things. He can do one, sometimes two. He can't do all three. So he has to network with other people who know how to do the stuff he can't. All right. And they share and exchange information. So a guy that knows that, say, Apple is wide open for this specific product to steal, he may share that with somebody that knows that another store, maybe Amazon, is open for this other product to steal. And they'll share and they'll network with each other and exchange information, all with the idea of being able to make more money at the end of the day. That's the way cybercrime operates. That's why cybercrime is so successful, is these criminals exchange and share information all the time. So you get someone like me that used to be a criminal that monitors that stuff. I'm able to determine and kind of keep a thumb on the pulse of the crimes that are trending and the stores that are about to be hit or the verticals that are about to be hit and things like that. Okay.
So the dark web, you talk about that quite a bit. Sounds like a big, I don't know, swap meet for criminals. And most of us out here in the other side have only heard about the dark web from some movie or TV.
Sure.
Is it only used for criminal enterprise? Is that the only purpose for it?
No. So the dark web, and let's explain the internet first, and we'll go from there. Okay. Think of the internet, and I hate to use this because everyone uses the example of an iceberg, but we're going to use the iceberg. So think of the internet as an iceberg. Okay. The part that's above water is the surface web. Now, the surface web is everything that you can find on Google. That is about 5% of the internet. 5%. That's the only thing that Google will find. That other 94, 95%, that is what's called the deep web. That's everything that's under the water. Okay. Now, the deep web is anything that Google can't find. Now, we're not talking about illegal stuff. We're talking about emails, bank statements, anything that doesn't have a web address, anything that's behind a paywall, anything like that consists of the deep web. Okay. Now, inside of the deep web, you have that thing called the dark web. And the dark web was developed by the United States Navy. It was developed because they needed operatives, espionage people, to be able to talk to other operatives without being identified by foreign countries. Then later they said, okay, these dissidents that are behind the country's firewalls, like in China or Cuba or Iran, in order for them to get word out about what's happening or to see what's happening in the real world instead of what China wants them to see, they can use the dark web. The Tor browser is what it's called. Tor, T-O-R, it stands for the onion router. And the reason it's called the onion router is think of your home computer as it's got an IP address, the phone number of the computer. So you take that IP address and you wrap it in layers of other IP addresses and encrypt the entire thing. And that's what's called the onion router, the Tor browser. That's what you have to use in order to access the dark web. Now, not everything that's on the dark web is criminal. You have sister sites like the New York Times, you have academic sites on there, you have email sites on there. There is a lot of criminal activity that takes place on the dark web, because what you see is if you have a technology that allows a criminal to remain somewhat anonymous or to launder money, the first adoptees are criminals for technology like that. Not everything's criminal, but think of it like this. Not all crime takes place on the dark web. Most of it, 90% plus, takes place on that surface web. Because a criminal, what he needs to do, he may go down to the dark web to buy your information. But in order to use your information to commit that crime, he has to come back up to the surface web to hit these websites to commit the crime. So most of the crime that takes place is on the surface web, but a lot of the information that's exchanged is on the deep or the dark web. That's the best explanation I can give to you about it.
All right, that makes it a little more clear for me, and hopefully for those that are out there listening, and for the person who put in that question, there's your explanation. Now,
I hope.
Well, one of the other questions was about the information that we have on the internet, because they say we have so much information on the internet. What is the essential information that we need to keep really safe and really guard?
The essential information, what I need people to understand, this is this part where people have trouble with it. Everyone's information has been compromised. Face it, it's been compromised. Last year alone, we had 1,500 reported breaches just last year, 2.6 billion with a B records compromised just last year. Everyone's information has already been compromised. We need to accept that fact. When you accept that fact, then you could ask yourself the question, since my information is available to criminals, what can I do to make sure a criminal can't use it? All right. So that's the question. Don't worry about what information can't be accessed or what information you should be protecting. Now, that being said, you shouldn't be out there posting your social security number. That's asking to be victimized. You shouldn't be posting your date of birth or your mother's maiden name. You should still keep that secret. Yes, a criminal can still get that information, but there's no need to advertise it. So you should be protecting that. You should be using different passwords on different websites. There's a set of, so practice basic, what I would call basic cybersecurity common sense. So you protect your PII even though a criminal can still get it. You make sure that you use different passwords, because there's this thing called credential stuffing that I'm sure we'll touch on here in a few minutes. But just practice basic common sense and basic cybersecurity hygiene, and you tend to be okay.
Well, now, one of the things that comes up a lot, because you're talking about, have the different passwords. It's been a while since I looked, but I'm pretty sure I have over 300 passwords, right? It's an issue.
Probably.
So what do you do with that? It's very hard to keep them different and remember them. You can have a browser remember them, but I've heard that's not safe. This is a Diane question right here. What do we do? Do we use a password manager? What's the solution to that one?
All right, so since you said 300 passwords, here's what I'm going to ask you. Are any of those 300 passwords the same?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's kind of like an AA meeting. Hi, I'm Brett Johnson. I use the same password across multiple websites.
Hi, Brett.
Or I use a very similar password across multiple websites. Right?
Yes.
The statistic is 80%. 80% of every single person on the planet uses the same password across multiple websites. 80%. All right. The reason that that's important, phishing accounts for 92% of every single breach. Every single breach, 92% of them begin with a phishing attack. So if I send a phishing email out that looks like it comes from Bank of America, your level of awareness may be high enough that you look at it and say, "Ha ha! I know that's a phishing email. I'm not going to fall for that." But what happens if I send a phishing email that comes from, it looks like Hulu? Is your level of awareness going to be as high? Probably not. Probably, at least me, I would get that email and I would say, Hulu? Does anyone even watch it? The only thing they've got's The Handmaid's Tale, and that second season, whew. So no, your level of awareness is not going to be as high.
Right.
But if you're using the same password, little Billy, that so-called hacker who's just a cyber criminal in his mom's basement, it's automated. He takes those login credentials, he puts it in the program, and as he's asleep at night, it tries to log in hundreds of thousands of websites while he's asleep. Wakes up the next morning, he's got your bank account, your credit card, your tax records, your credit report, and your Hulu account. That's why it's important to use different passwords. The problem is we're never trained what a secure password is. We go to a website, it says use so many characters, symbols, uppercase, lowercase. It's got a graph that says weak, weak, weak. We start putting stuff in. Finally, it says strong. We have no idea how it got to be strong. You mentioned the solution just a minute ago. Password managers. Yeah, you've got 300 sites you got to log into. Human beings are incapable of being random. We cannot, as humans, pick a random password. It's a fact. We cannot. We don't have the ability to do that. But a password manager does. A password manager doesn't mind at all coming up with 300 secure random passwords that are not associated with each other. It doesn't mind at all remembering those for you, logging in for you, or when the website wants you to change the password, changing the password and making a new random secure password. Right now, password managers are the best solution that we have to the password problem that we got. And that's what I say is definitely use a password manager. Definitely. No doubt about it.
All right. I'm going to get to work on that as soon as we get off of this.
I'll work on that Hulu email to send you too.
Yeah, thanks for that. Now, another question that has come in that is kind of related to having your password stolen, it's about identity theft. It says identity theft is the thing that scares me the most, and I worry about all the information that's out there on social media. Should I take it down or is it too late? And I think you've kind of said it's too late, but what are some other tips around identity theft?
Sure. So let me scare everybody to death real quick. Okay. So right now I can go on a criminal website and I can buy a complete identity profile. It's called a FOOLS. A FOOLS consists of the person's name, address, phone number, social security number, mother's maiden, driver's license, date of birth, background check, credit report, any social media lookups that might be of interest. Now that's a complete identity profile that I can buy for a low of $30 to a high of about $130, depending on credit score, gender, location of the victim. Okay, I can buy that ready-made. Sometimes they'll even include driver's license scans. All right, or I can make it. If I want to make one, if I just figure that I want to victimize you, what I can do is I can go to a website like robocheck.cm, which it's a criminal website. It lists the social security numbers and dates of birth of 170 million Americans, which I can buy that for $4. So I buy your social and date of birth for $4. I then go over and start using legal background check services like Ben Verified. For $25 a month, I can pull unlimited background checks on whoever I want to. So I pull your background check, every single associate that you have, their background check as well, so I can get your mother's maiden name, which I will get it at that point. From there, I go over and get your credit report. Where? Annualcreditreport.com, same place you go. They're going to ask me some security questions. They don't have a time limit over there, so I can literally sit there all day long with a background check in Google, try to get the answers right. If I miss the answer, it's okay, because the next stop is Credit Karma, where they ask the exact same security questions, except the answers are different except for the correct answer. So then I get your credit report. From there, I go to LinkedIn to find out where you work, Glassdoor to find out how much you make, Facebook to find out if you've posted anything of interest. That's how identity theft works. What's important, yes, everyone's information has been compromised, but it's important to safeguard your information. It's important on your social media channels to make sure you don't share too much information. If you've got a public profile where anyone can read your information, that is what we call low-hanging fruit. That's a nice way to put it. The truthful way that a criminal puts it is that's just a victim waiting at that point. All right, so it's important, like on Facebook, that you only share your profile with individuals who are really your friends. There's no need to have a public profile because there are predators on this planet. There are predators in this country. There are predators that are constantly looking to victimize people. And it's important that we try to protect ourselves against that. And it's very easy to protect yourselves against a lot of these people that are out there.
Yeah, okay, you did. You terrified me. That was good. But what does an average internet user do to be kind of proactive about that besides not putting everything on Facebook? Well, what are some of the other things that will make us feel better?
Sure. So I'm going to make you feel real good, okay? The solution to a lot of this is not horribly complicated. There are things you can do. Remember, I said everyone's information is already available. So it starts out by freezing your credit. And when I say freeze credit, I mean freeze the credit of every single person in the house, including children. Children are the #1 victims of identity theft. 25%, 1 in 4 will be a victim through medical fraud, tax fraud, or this thing called synthetic identity theft. So freeze the credit of every single person. Credit freezes became free September 18th, 2018. I'm not talking about credit alerts. I'm talking about a credit freeze. You have to contact all 3 credit bureaus to do that. When you freeze your credit, it stops all new account fraud. That way, if a criminal does have your social security number, he's trying to open up new accounts, guess what? Can't do it because the creditor can't pull the credit report without your specific permission. So credit freezes, #1. #2, understand that a credit freeze only stops new account fraud. So you have to protect your existing accounts. The way you do that is make sure you monitor those accounts. So when I say accounts, I mean your merchant accounts, your email accounts, your tax records, your credit cards, your credit reports, your bank accounts. You monitor accounts. You place alerts on the existing accounts where you can. For example, Discover Card has a $0 alert, meaning that if a criminal buys your Discover Card information for like $8 on the dark web, if he buys your Discover Card and he wants to know if the card's still alive and he pings it, $0 charge, you get a text message sent to your phone saying, hey, someone's trying to use your card. And then you can kill the card at that point without the criminal being able to use it. Okay, so place alerts, monitor accounts, freeze credit. Finally, we just mentioned it a minute ago, passwords. So you make sure that those passwords are secure. Use a password manager on your social media. Make sure you lock down those accounts where only your real friends can view your profiles. All together, those things right there, that makes sure that you're not this low-hanging fruit, because criminals at the end of the day, they're not looking for specific victims. They're looking for easy victims. So they're looking for those people who aren't doing those things. Meanwhile, you're up here in this tree, way up above all these people, and there's a whole lot of them that don't do anything like that. As long as you're doing just those basic necessities, you are far and above protected above most everyone else. So that's what you need to be doing, is right there. Okay.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. It sounds like something I can actually do and be proactive about it.
Absolutely.
Well, let's switch gears just a little bit because we had a kind of a different kind of question that came in that says romance scams seem to be a growing thing with COVID and people being isolated. Is isolation a key factor in making someone more likely to be a victim? How can you know if somebody is for real?
Again, Reagan said it, trust but verify. All right. Romance scams are an insidious scam because we as human beings, we like to have companionship. And a romance scam isn't always about romance. People who are on dating sites aren't always looking for love. They're looking sometimes for friendship, companionship, someone to talk to. So scammers realize that. And you got to realize that a scam, especially a romance scam, is often a long con. If you get on a dating site and you have somebody that immediately reaches out to you and sends you a message saying, hey, my name is Bob. Hey, send me $6,000. Why don't you? My child is in the hospital. I love you long time. Probably you're not going to believe that. All right. So it's important that scammers, that they build rapport, that they layer trust, that they get you on their side of the fence. You see what a scam, the way a scam works, it starts as an oppositional relationship. You've got the scammer on one side, you've got the potential victim on the other, and it's all about getting that potential victim on the scammer side of the fence, working toward that common goal being of paying the scammer. All right. So the way it's going to work is the scammer is going to build rapport. That scammer is going to start out the way anybody's going to start out, a legitimate person would. Chit chat. Hey, what are you doing today? I saw your profile. I thought I'd reach out to you. And they're going to continue to build and build and build. While they're building, they're going to continue to layer rapport. They're going to find out more and more about you. Say your profile says you're a widower. or you're divorced or something. They're going to try to feed on that. So, what happened? You said you're a widow. You're a widow. What happened? Oh, your husband had cancer. Well, my son. I'm divorced. My son's got cancer, and yeah, that's what broke up our marriage. The wife couldn't deal with it. Yeah, he's got. I'm trying to make sure he's got these treatments. Yeah, they're $10,000 a piece. So the scammer starts layering and feeding on the information that you're giving them as well. Typically, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not being alienated, because a scammer is all about alienating you. We as a society, that's the sad thing about it. We as a society, the media and individuals are adamant about trying to blame the victims of scams. We come up with lines, how could you be stupid enough to click on that link? How could anybody send money to somebody they've never met? So we blame the victim. We have to get past that, because when you blame the victim alienates. The victim gets to the point that they don't talk to their usual support group, their friends, families, associates. They don't talk to that because they're afraid of being judged. When you alienate, that means the only person that you're able to talk to is that siloed relationship with the scammer. That's exactly where that scammer wants you. So that's why I need people to find a buddy, find that means to be objective, or to have that objective view coming in and saying, hey, you've never even met this person. This person's talking about, okay, I don't care if they're saying they've got a son in the hospital. You've never met them. Okay, yeah, and here's the thing. Sometimes you'll get to the point where the scammer wants you to offer money, all right? Because if the scammer is asking you for money, that puts that relationship back on that oppositional role. So the scammer kind of wants to get you to the point where you volunteer money. Yeah, I'd like to come and see you, but I just don't have the money. I'm saving the money for my son. Well, you know what? I've got the money. If it's just that, I can help out with your son. So what happens at that point? Does the scammer accept that offer, that first offer of money? Not if he's smart. Not if he's smart. Remember, this is a long con. If the scammer is smart, the scammer actually says, oh, no. I don't even know you. There's no way I'd take money from you. I'm trying to build a relationship with you. So the first offer of money, oftentimes the scammer denies it. What happens when the scammer denies that? At that point, it actually tells the potential victim, it can't be a scam. If it was, they would take money from me. No. The scammer's not after that, few $100. The scammer's after everything. So he actually layers trust sometimes by denying the offer of money. But by God, excuse my language, but you can bet the next offer of money, that's the one the scammer's going to take. So understand that it's easy enough for me to sit back and say, don't send money to people you've never met, or don't send money at all to someone online. But scams operate by getting you to dismiss that objective viewpoint. That's why I want people to be able to just take a moment, step back, take a breath, and consider. Better than that, find a buddy, find an enemy that you can run things past. Hey, does this sound right? Yeah, I know we hate each other, but can you for just 1 minute, I'll let you call me whatever you want me to call me, but what do you think about this? And if they say no, then at least that gives you an objective point of view. Find someone you could bounce these ideas off of as well.
Yeah, what you're saying about alienation and blaming the victim, I think that really plays into us not reporting a lot of these scams and frauds as well.
And I want to be honest with you. There's been a lot of times that law enforcement, and I used to, at one point I work with law enforcement now. Law enforcement's much better now. But there are still law enforcement officers out there that a victim of a scam goes to report the crime, and law enforcement gets that look in their face like that right there. It is never, what we have to realize is it is never the victim's fault that a crime has been perpetrated against them. It is always the criminal's fault. As long as we're blaming the victim for the victim being a victim, then we're never going to get ahead. We have to change that language. As a family member, if you're sitting there thinking, I cannot believe that my mom or dad is falling for this crap online. No, they're falling for it. Okay, they're falling for it. Accept that. Then instead of judging, get your butt over there and help. Give them that objective role. Talk to them. Hey, I understand what's going on. Hey, We all want somebody to talk to. Just understand that, this is a scam. This is why it's a scam. I want you to understand this dialogue he's using. Found this on Google. It's a walkthrough of exactly every single thing that you're going through. It may not be the first time that you talk to this person about it. You may have to talk over and over and over, but it's always important not to judge the victim of a crime because they are the victim. They are the victim. At some point, they're going to have to swallow that. At some point, it's going to hit them real hard that they've lost this money and or their self-respect, self-esteem, whatever, that they've been really hurt by someone that has used them, claiming that they're friends or in love or whatever at that point. So it's just important that we're there for these people that are potentially being victimized. Don't judge people. For God's sake, don't judge people. Just try to help them.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna put in a plug here for the Fraud Watch Network, because that's one of the things that this helps to solve. It gives you a place to share your story without being judged. It gives you a way to look up what the common frauds and scams are, so you can go, yeah, oh, that's happening here in Missouri. I'm not going to fall for that one. So I think that can be helpful as well.
See, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can reach out to the Fraud Watch Network and say, hey, I need somebody to at least, what do you think? And at that point, no, we think you need to stay away. That's what we think. So there you go.
Absolutely. And the hotline is perfect for that. You can get a real live person who will talk you through it. And you'll have that somebody.
Absolutely beautiful.
That's a really valuable.
I cannot recommend that enough. I cannot. You get that call coming in that looks like it's from Social Security Administration saying, yes, we have a warrant for arrest. We need you to go down to Best Buy, buy $40,000 worth of gift cards. Don't hang up, or we come get you now. No, you hang up and you call the Fraud Watch Network and say, hey, I got somebody from Social Security Administration want me to get gift cards. What do you think? At that point, you've got the objective point of view coming in and saying, no. We've got experience with this. That is a scammer. And you can take it from there.
Awesome. Well, now got another question for you about electronic pay options. Now this is kind of newish to me anyway. I hear a lot about electronic pay options using your phone at checkout, and my kids pay back their friends using apps all the time. Are these safe? Can they be cloned and used by cyber criminals?
Most of them are safe. I will say that the new payment programs, so I'm going to use an example of Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and people like that, pay programs like that to begin with. When those first came out, a criminal could use those and your stolen debit card information and commit massive amounts of fraud, simply because the programs, they didn't really realize the amount of fraud that could be perpetrated on that. Nowadays, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay, those are extremely secure services. Typically, even services like Zelle, Venmo, to a lesser extent, there's some questionable ones. I like Zelle and Venmo now. The way that, notice there are some I didn't mention. Let that clue you in. So that being said, it's important to realize that while the technology is extremely secure, the way a criminal will use that is to trick you into sending them a Zelle or a Venmo payment, because then it becomes extremely difficult for the victim to get that money back before the criminal can put it in his or her pocket. Okay, so while the technology tends to be extremely secure, the social engineering around that, the ability of a criminal to say, hey, just send me a Venmo, because the criminal knows at that point that it's extremely difficult for you to get your money back. Okay, so what I need you to do is, again, practice that trust but verify. So someone's selling an item on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and they're saying, yeah, you know what? I got this Xbox Series X. Yeah, I know it's hard to get every place else. I know it. Yeah. Don't pay up $10 for it. Look, I'm selling it. I'm selling it for $479. Yeah, retail's $499, but I got an extra one. Yeah, just Venmo me the money. It's fine. Just Venmo it. I'll send it over to you. So trust but verify. Is the offer too good to be true? Is it questionable to begin with? Is there any other way that you can pay? If someone's wanting you to Zelle them money, that you may not have the credit card protections in place. I like to make sure that people who are buying online are protected in every possible way they can. Don't send Zen or Venmo or Zelle unless you know the person. Unless you know the person. All right. Unless you can see the item right there, you know that it's been acquired legitimately. Let's just be honest. If you're on Craigslist or you're on Facebook Marketplace and somebody's got a brand new iPhone there still in the box, and maybe he's got a picture and I've seen this. A lot of people have seen this. They've got a stack of iPhones or a stack of MacBook Pros in their living room. The chances of that being legitimate, not very high, guys. Yeah, and they're selling them at a discount. Not very high. So that's the kind of stuff you want to watch out for. Yeah, it's a bargain. It's a bargain because you're receiving stolen goods. So let's just be careful out there. Realize that if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Don't send money to people you don't know unless you're covered with some sort of credit card protections. Okay?
Oh, well, let's have a real-time, real-life example. I don't know if you saw me turn around just a minute ago. Heard something in the background? Yeah. One of my little personal assistant devices that does not have a brand name.
Okay.
Say something and decided they were going to search it for me and report back.
All right.
What about those things that are listening to us all the time in our households? Are they a risk?
You know, IoT devices. So the Internet of Things. Here's a scary statistic for you. 41% of every single router on the planet has the default password. That's a router, okay? That's what all your internet traffic is going through right there. 41% have the default password. I can look up the default password using Google. Get access to your router. Start intercepting the information that's coming in and out of your home, okay? Now, if you take that a step further and look at the Internet of Devices, that smart thermostat that you've got, your Ring doorbell system, the Alexa that's out there, does it have the default passwords? Can I access that? Can I access the home cameras that you've got or something like that? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So you need to be changing the passwords that are there. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I don't have smart devices in my house. Okay, I don't have the Alexa or the Google Voice or anything else like that. I've got it on the phone because everyone's got it on the phone. But it's potentially a very serious violation of privacy. You have to determine in your life whether that's important or not. There's an argument to be made that, hey, the NSA or whoever's listening out there, they don't really care unless you're breaking the law. So most people are not breaking the law. But you have to determine for yourself if the potential violation of privacy is something that you need to worry about. For me, I don't have those types of smart devices in my home. Okay, I don't mind law enforcement listening in, but I just don't like companies listening in. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, and next time I'll unplug it before I go live. Well, now we hear a lot about two-factor identification for your accounts and your banking and for all kinds of things. Is that a lot safer?
It depends on how two-factor or multi-factor authentication is implemented. For example, so multi-factor is certainly better than it's good. It's very good. That being said, how is it implemented? Is it by email? Is the company sending you an email that's got a code that you have to repeat the code via email? If that's the case, here's another, we're throwing out scary statistics tonight. So another scary statistic is, yes, 92% of every attack begins with a phishing attack. Spear phishing is about 86% successful. The difference between the two. Imagine Brady, he's on his internet boat, he's cruising the internet seas, and he throws out a large net. He doesn't care what type of fish, what type of victims he catches. He's just looking for victims at large, okay? Spear phishing is I am Ahab on that internet boat, and I'm looking for the white whale Moby Dick. All right? So I'm looking for one specific victim. Spear phishing is about 86% successful, okay? If I send out a spear phishing email, an attack like that, I am going to get the information that I want. So say I need access to your email, that I know that two-factor authentication is coming through via email. I'm going to launch a spear phishing attack against you, get your email login credentials, which I will get, and then I'll have access to the code that's being sent at that point, and I can pass the two-factor authentication that's coming through. So how is two-factor implemented? Is it implemented by SMS, by text message? If it is, there are a few ways I can intercept SMS. I can do, and I don't want to get horribly technical, but there's a thing called the Series 7 attack, which I can get the SMS via the cell phone tower itself. Typically what happens is I would do what's called a phone port, a SIM swap. So the cell phone that you have in your pocket, I would have that shut down, and I would have the number transferred to a prepaid device that I have in my pocket. That way the text messages are sent to the cell phone that I have, not the one that you've got. And then I can start milking out the bank account. Now that's scary. That is not typical, all right? What I would say is that you have to use a combination of everything. So yes, you want multi-factor authentication, but you also want to use a password manager. You also want to make sure that your information is locked down, that you have the credit freezes in place, all these other things as well. Once you have that, it's that because an attacker has basically a toolbox, a criminal has a toolbox, and in the toolbox, he's got all these different types of ways to victimize you. And it's important that you have a toolbox as well. And in your toolbox, you have all these different ways to protect against those tools that the attacker is using. So that's what I say is use a multi-layered approach.
Okay. It sounds like so much of this is predicated on us being proactive and paying attention.
It's all about being proactive. It's all about. If you're reactive, what you're doing is you're reacting to the way a criminal is going to victimize you. And he or she is going to. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when, because that attack is going to happen.
All right. Well, we're kind of down to our last few minutes, and we still have more questions, and I'm sorry we didn't get to all.
All right, let's do the rapid fire approach.
Ready? Strap in.
Yeah.
How do people spoof websites and email addresses? What should I look for?
You should just type in the website manually. Look it up on Google, then type it in manually like that, because spoofing email addresses or websites is extremely easy. All right, so it's very difficult. I don't want to give a lot of pointers on how to do that because there are so many different techniques, and you may concentrate on one. Instead, type in the website manually. Go like that. Okay, next.
How can you tell if a website is not just secure with the HTTPS but safe?
Again, you can't, because I can come up with a Unicode domain that looks almost exactly like the website that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Okay, so it wouldn't be an English alphabet, but it would look like an English alphabet. It would register just fine, have the security certificates. It again boils down to making sure, instead of following what you think is real, type it in yourself, go from there, find it on Google, rely on the reviews, everything else at that point. Next.
What do you do if your identity is stolen? How can I convince the bank that it's me?
That becomes difficult. What I need everyone to do, especially senior citizens. Senior citizens are really big about a lot of senior citizens don't want to be online. They don't register online accounts. When you don't register online accounts, that leaves someone like a criminal like I used to be. I can go and register those accounts in your name. When I do that, I actually appear to the bank or to the Social Security Administration to be more you than you. So even if you don't use the accounts, register them and then don't use them. That means a criminal can't register it in your name at that point. Okay, you don't have to use it, but register it. That will bypass a lot of the difficulty you may have in proving that you're you at that point. Sometimes you absolutely have to just walk in the bank at that point. I've actually done that myself. I've victimized people who have had to do that as well. So sometimes it boils down to actually physically walking into the bank. But in order to keep from doing that, register the accounts, make sure you can access the accounts beforehand. Okay.
Okay, now we really are running out of time. So on behalf of AARP Missouri, I want to say thank you to everybody who took part in our live online event on fraud. And before we wrap up, Brett, is there anything you'd like to follow up on or share any last little bit of advice with our viewers? What's your words of wisdom?
There is. My psychic abilities tell me that there's a viewer out there named Patricia. And I need to tell Patricia, listen to your daughter. Stay secure, stay safe. She's smart. She'll help protect you. That goes for everybody, though. Hey, Listen to AARP. Contact the Fraud Watch Network. They are outstanding. They truly are. Don't be afraid to call. Do not blame yourself for any type of crime that goes on. Stay safe, stay secure, stay vigilant, trust and verify.
Awesome. So whether it's online, over the phone, or through the mail, even at your front door, there are scam artists that are out there and they are looking for new ways to get into your loved ones or your wallets. AARP's Fraud Watch Network, as Brett said, it's a great way to learn about the most effective ways to protect your loved ones from identity theft and fraud. And if you haven't signed up yet, you can call the Fraud Watch Network hotline at 877-908-3360. You can get your email address added to the Fraud Watch distribution list. If it's easier for you to sign up online, you can do that too. It's aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. And don't forget about our sweepstakes for a micro shredder that can help you shred papers that might help keep your identity safe. You can enter at bit.ly/shred-instead. Brett, you have been so much fun and so informative. Thank you again for sharing all your insight and experience with us.
Thank you so much, Diane. You stay safe out there.
Thank you very much. To all our viewers, thank you for joining us online. We hope to see you again soon. Make sure to like AARP Missouri on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss our next live event. Thanks for watching.
Hello there.